Well, my favorite holiday of the year is coming up this week, Thanksgiving. Is it anybody else's favorite holiday? I love Thanksgiving. I love being grateful. And this year I'm particularly excited because my family's going to come and be with us. So my daughter and her husband are coming. They're expecting their first child in May. And my son and his wife and my granddaughter Vivian are coming as well. She's 2 now and the most wonderful grandchild on the planet. Some of you might challenge that. But just really, really excited about it. Just a chance to be together, appreciate what's important. And I expect many of you begin your Thanksgiving meal the way we do. We go around the table and each person says what they're most grateful for. And typically we say each other, of course, family and friends, our home, our livelihood. We give thanks for babies. I'm giving thanks for a new grandchild on the way. Just so many things to be grateful for. And it's just such a sweet and meaningful time that we pause and give thanks. So one day out of the year, we dedicate to gratitude. And really, it deserves so many more. In fact, ideally, gratitude would be a way of life. We would feel grateful every day. Because research shows that gratitude is so good for us on almost every front. It's good for our health, it's good for our relationships, it's good for our work, it's good for our outlook on life, for our own happiness. David Steindl-Rast is a Benedictine monk, and he says, "It is not joy that makes us grateful, but gratitude that makes us joyful." Yes, it begins with the practice of gratitude. And as we also know, when we are grateful, our blessings multiply. Now, certainly Jesus knew this and exemplified it. Of the 24 public prayers identified of his in the canonical Gospels, 12 of them, 1/2, are prayers of thanksgiving. When you think about it, you remember reading him, giving thanks pretty much all the time. Before Jesus fed the 5,000, it said that he took that time to give thanks for the 5 loaves and the 2 fish before he broke the bread and shared it all with the disciples to give to the crowd. Before Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, it is said that he paused to gaze heavenward and give thanks to God for hearing his prayer. And of course, in the Last Supper, we know that Jesus blessed the bread before he broke it. Give thanks for that cup of wine before he passed it to the disciples. In all of these ways, gratitude was an embedded part of who he was and how he showed up. And by giving thanks in advance, before the outcome had occurred, before the results had occurred, Jesus really connected with the power of God in him. And often, a miracle resulted. He was giving thanks in advance. And similarly, when we are in a state of gratitude, it quickens the divine energy within us. We actually stir up all that good spiritual energy. You can feel a shift in you when you go to gratitude. And that shifting energy is very expansive. It opens up all sorts of new possibilities for us. John Demartini is a spiritual teacher, and he says this about gratitude. He says, "Do not underestimate the power and depth that gratitude has in connecting you to your own vital forces. Gratitude is the key that opens the gateway of your heart and mind." Wow. Gratitude opens up everything. Well, most of us find it easy to be grateful when things are going well, but what about when they aren't? The Apostle Paul says that we are to give thanks in all things, in all circumstances. All circumstances. But how are we supposed to be grateful during the hard times? The health challenge, or the relationship breakdown, the job layoff, or the loss of a loved one. There really is only one way to be grateful even when we're in the thick of things. And it's to change the way we see it. To change the way we see it. To remind ourselves this too shall pass. But even more, to remember that no matter what we are going through, no matter how hard it will be, that somehow, some way, good will come of it. There will be a blessing from it. I know that's like terribly hard to remember when you're right in the middle of a challenge. But the truth is, some kind of blessing will come of it. You know, when I went through my divorce in the early 1990s, as I've shared before, it felt like the end of the world. But now, years later, I look back on it and I realize it was the best thing that could have happened. It was the right thing to have happen. Because it freed my then husband, or as Richard calls him, my husband. It freed him to marry a woman that was a better match for him.
He's in Alaska now.
And he's happy, and that's the point. But it also freed me up, of course, to meet and marry my beloved Richard and to pursue a career in ministry. You see, good came of it. And I bet each and every one of you can think of a time in your life when you experienced a major setback or a loss or a very, very challenging time. And you can look back on it and see that some kind of good came from it, that there was some kind of blessing there for you. Yeah. So we can know that. We can know that blessings will come forth no matter what we're going through. And even if we're in the struggle of it, we can just keep that awareness in the back of our mind, kind of a faith, if you will, and just hold the high watch for ourselves that the blessings will come. Well, I'm sure many of you are thinking, yes, that's good for most things, but there are some circumstances that are so bad or so tragic that no good could come of it. And I understand that. It's a little difficult sometimes, and there's a terrible death or killing or something like that. But I found this book several years ago that kind of made me see it differently, and it's a book called Thank God I. So Thank God I ... And there's actually a website, thankgodi.com. And it's filled with stories of inspiration from people who shared how the worst thing that had happened to them actually led to a great blessing. And these chapter titles are kind of amazing. It's, thank God my husband was an alcoholic. Thank God I was molested. Thank God my wife cheated. Thank God I was abused. Yeah, thank God I lost my mind. It's actually one of these. And as you read the stories, you see how the blessings came. So there's a woman who had herpes. And she wrote about how because she had herpes, she began to take exceptionally good care of herself, her health. And because she did that, she was eventually able to conceive and give birth to a healthy child. And the doctors had told her that wasn't possible. A rape victim speaks about how going through that terrible circumstance, that it led her to self-compassion and forgiveness, letting go, and reclaiming her life. A cancer patient shared how cancer was her teacher, that cancer taught her to treasure life and health and relationships, and most of all, the present moment. You see, we don't get to choose everything that happens to us in life, but we always get to choose how we view it. No matter what we are experiencing, we can find something in it to be grateful for. We just have to be willing to look. And the same is true for the people in our lives. Everyone who shows up in our lives, including and especially those we consider adversaries, every single one comes bearing gifts. They do. They're giving us opportunities to learn and to grow. They're all part of our spiritual awakening, our spiritual expansion. And if we want to learn the lesson rather than getting all wrapped up in the story, one easy way to do it is to ask ourselves, what am I to learn from this? What am I to learn from this? As soon as you ask that question, it takes you out of the conflict or the challenge to being sort of the observer and noticing what needs to shift. And if we find ourselves really wedded to our point of view such that we're at an impasse, we can send out a prayer, or send in a prayer. How can I see this differently? How can I see this differently. When we do something like that, we may find that the person that we've been thinking is getting in our way or being a nuisance or frustrating us is actually there to teach us patience. Someone who is overpowering or we find domineering or maybe even being a little bit of bully, that person is teaching us how to find our own voice and to speak our truth. The person who's lashing out in all directions, that individual is giving us an opportunity to learn compassion. You see, everyone is our teacher, and everything brings lessons. And knowing that, we can be grateful. Well, there's one other area of gratitude that we don't usually talk about too much, but I think it's foundational. And it's being grateful for ourselves. When is the last time you were grateful for yourself? Like, hey, I'm all right. I'm a good soul. Yay me. Appreciating the divine light that you are. Appreciating how kind you are. How giving, how caring. The many ways in which you bless other people, more ways than you even know about. You see, appreciating ourselves opens the way for us to appreciate others. Well, this week we had Jeanne de Kian here. She was teaching this class on the 8 vows, how to rise in consciousness to divine union, to awakening, basically. And on that first night, she said that as we become more spiritually aware and awake, that we reach a point where we really cannot tolerate injustice. That we cannot stay silent because something in it, we just can't deny that or ignore that. Well, I went home that night, and I really began thinking about it. And where my thoughts led was to this idea that I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not visible enough. I'm not vocal enough. I'm not taking a stand on these social justice issues, equal rights, things that really are important to me. I'm really not out there. I should probably be leading demonstrations or writing op-eds. And then it kind of began to snowball a little bit. I should be more like Martin Luther King. I should be more like Gandhi. I should be more like Harriet Tubman. How many of you have seen that movie? Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. We're going to show it here. And then, of course, it just, mushroomed from there. I should be more like Mary Magdalene. Oh my gosh, what a courageous spiritual leader. And finally, I should be more like Jesus. I should be more like Jesus. It was a rough night. It was a rough night. And Thankfully, in the midst of all that, I remembered something else that Jan had taught us. She said the first rung of this rise in consciousness is love and compassion. And you cannot feel love and compassion for others until you feel love and compassion for yourself. And the key to really learning love and compassion is to let go of judgment. Thank you. Is to let go of judgment. And so, of course, to feel love and compassion for ourselves, we must stop judging ourselves. And then she said something, there's the way she worded it, of course, I've heard this before, but she said, each of us is unique. Each of us, she said, is singular. Singular. There's no one like you. There's no one that has your attributes, your intentions, your passions, your gifts. No one else. Just you. And knowing that, any kind of comparison with someone else is ludicrous. It's like comparing one snowflake to another and saying this one's better than that, or this grain of sand is better than that one. The fact is that we all have unique gifts and our own inner voice guiding us in how we share them in our own right time and in our own right way. And realizing that, I came back to my senses. Thankfully, I came back into my heart, and I began to appreciate me. I'm a pretty good person. I really love people. I care a lot. I give a lot. I'm doing my best. There's more I could be doing, but I appreciate what we've created here at Unity Renaissance and the fact that we are step by step moving into being an even greater force for good in the world. It's all unfolding in perfect divine timing, and all is well. It's like giving myself a little hug, And I invite you to do this. Do it right now. Give yourself a little hug. take a moment to appreciate what a good and beautiful soul you are. What a sweetheart. There's nobody like you. See yourself through the eyes of love, and truly that's what gratitude is all about. Gratitude is about seeing through the eyes of love and finding in everything, whether the good times or the hard times, the people we consider our friends or the people we consider adversaries, the things we love about ourselves and the things that are still a work in progress, to be grateful for all of it. Albert Einstein once said there are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle, and the other is as though everything is a miracle. And so today, to help us get into that perspective, that frame of mind where everything is a miracle, I brought along my favorite video on gratitude. I've shown it before here, but I love it so dearly. And I invite you as you watch it to really give yourself over to it, to just relax into it. Feel it in your heart. Let it soothe you, let it comfort you, let it inspire you. And be aware of this shift in perspective that occurs in you as you watch it, so that you can continue to see that way through the holidays and far beyond.
You think this is just another day in your life? It's not just another day. It's the one day that is given to you today. It's given to you. It's a gift. It's the only gift that you have right now, and the only appropriate response is gratefulness. If you do nothing else but to cultivate that response to the great gift that this unique day is, if you learn to respond as if it were the first day in your life and the very last day, then you will have spent this day very well. Begin by opening your eyes and be surprised that you have eyes you can open. That incredible array of colors that is constantly offered to us for pure enjoyment. Look at the sky. We so rarely look at the sky. We so rarely note how different it is from moment to moment with clouds coming and going. We just think of the weather, and even of the weather we don't think of all the many nuances of weather. We just think of good weather and bad weather. This day, right now, is unique weather. Maybe a kind that will never exactly in that form come again. The formation of clouds in the sky will never be the same that is right now. Open your eyes, look at that. Look at the faces of people whom you meet. Each one has an incredible story behind their face. A story that you could never fully fathom. Not only their own story, but the story of their ancestors. We all go back so far. And in this present moment, on this day, all the people you meet, all that life from generations and from so many places all over the world flows together and meets you here like a life-giving water if you only open your heart and drink. Open your heart to the incredible gifts that civilization gives to us. You flip a switch and there's electric light. You turn a faucet and there's warm water and cold water and drinkable water. It's a gift that millions and millions in the world will never experience. So these are just a few of an enormous number of gifts to which we can open your heart. And so I wish you that you will open your heart to all these blessings and let them flow through you, that everyone whom you will meet on this day will be blessed by you. Just by your eyes, by your smile, by your touch, just by your presence. Let the gratefulness overflow into blessing all around you. And then it will really be a good day.
Isn't that beautiful? I want you to know on this Thanksgiving week how grateful I am for each and every one of you. And all of you watching online, everyone in our extended family, I'm so grateful for this place, for our past, our present, and our very, very promising future. So thank you all. Let's turn now to our meditation. I invite you to get comfortable in your seat, close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and let go. Releasing into this present moment, feeling the presence of God within you. Breathing into a deep sense, a deep knowing that all is well. All is well in our souls. As you relax into this sacred time, I invite you to allow your mind, in your mind's eye, to survey the landscape of your life, the experiences you've had, how far you've come, the faces of the people who have made such a difference to you, people you love, people you've learned from, people you are still developing an understanding of. And at this moment, breathe into gratitude, feeling the boundaries of yourself expand out so that you are gratitude, you are gratefulness. And taking that moment to bring yourself into your mind's eye, your sweet, unique, singular self. Take a moment to appreciate you and the beautiful life journey that you are on, with gratitude in the silence. Brother David Stendelrath says that when we are feeling grateful, that gratefulness is when we feel the great fullness of life. In this moment, we feel that fullness within us. We are filled to overflowing with gratitude, and we go forth from this moment ready to share our light, shine our light, share our joy, be the change. And for all of this, we are grateful. Thank you, God, and so it is. Amen.
Flow, Spirit, flow through me as I open up to be an expression of your unfolding peace. Show, Spirit, show